sat opposite somebody at a dinner party recently, and I thought, when I left the dinner party, that poor woman, her husband kept telling jokes. We're back talking with husbands who think they're funny enough to be stand-up comedians, and some of the men are thinking seriously about quitting their jobs to pursue a career of comedy in front of the microphone. Their wives say, you know, they're not their biggest fans. My next guest knows firsthand about the world of comedy. He's one of the most successful comics in the business. You know him from television, movies, and nightclubs, and he is the author of a book, How to Be a Stand-Up Comic. Please welcome Richard Belzer and his beautiful wife, Harley.
Hi.
Not bad applause, right?
Well, you know, they're cued by your staff, so...
Don't you?
But I'll take it, I'll take it, I'll take it.
Don't you wish the staff showed up at every nightclub where you were performing?
All right.
Richard
yes.
is a superstar in the comedy business. Was there ever a time when your wife didn't think you were funny?
Is that me? Closer to me?
I think when we first met.
Yeah.
Oh.
Right.
How did you meet?
I saw him on stage.
All right.
Well, that's not how we first met. Our
No,
first
we were
fight. Honeymoon's over.
No, we were introduced. We were introduced, but then later I saw him on stage. But there was like 3 people in the audience, and it was weird. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Did you know who he was? Did you go in to see him?
When I first met him?
Yeah?
Never heard of me.
Never heard of you?
No.
No.
You were wandering around a nightclub or something, and there were 3 people there?
No, we first were introduced. We first were introduced by a mutual friend of ours. And I didn't really want to meet anybody, and he didn't either, because we both had girlfriends and boyfriends.
She had a girlfriend, I had a boyfriend.
Right.
Oh, this friend of mine who I went to high school with had moved to California, and he said, I want to fix you up with the most beautiful woman in the world. So I was actually suspect of that description. And he told Harley, which I didn't know, I want you to meet the funniest guy in the world, and she was suspect of that. So when we first meet for the first time...
Especially because I'd never heard of him.
Yeah. She said, you're a comedian, so are you funny? And I said, are you beautiful? Oh. Here we are.
Harley, how long have you been married?
How long? 6?
7.
7 years.
Isn't it usually the man that forgets?
No, in my marriage it's the same. I've never remembered any of the anniversaries.
Yeah.
There's things just too wonderful to have to worry about the
Yes,
dates,
that's
right?
true.
What is it like being married to a comedian? Now, come on.
Well, I can't speak for every comedian, you know, they're
What's
all
it like
different.
for
I'm
you?
married to a few of them.
What's it like for you?
Well, he's a great guy. I like being married to him. He's fun, and he's intelligent, and he's witty, and and he's very loving, and he's...
So you have no downers? There's no downer part of this
Oh,
life?
sure,
What about being on the road all the time?
Well, he's on the road. I stay home.
Oh, is that a downer? That's what she means.
Yeah. Like, I mean, are you thrilled when he leaves and hope he doesn't come back?
No, I don't mind when he leaves. I mean, it gets me a chance. It's like, you know, if,
She doesn't
you know...
mind when I leave. Did you sit here? I want to conduct this anyway. I think I'm going to find out. Sit down, Sally. All right, so there's got to be... There's got to be some downside. I know Richard's he's a handsome guy. He's a good-looking guy. He's a philanthropist. He's a war hero. But what is the down? There's got to be a downside.
Too funny to carry a gun.
Too funny to carry a gun. He got thrown out of the army. No, let's say he's on the road for 3 weeks. Don't you get depressed or?
I don't get depressed, but I would miss you, and I'd be lonely, but I wouldn't get depressed.
No downside at all.
You know how, like, okay, there's in a lot of marriages, not every marriage,
Would
because
you like to see my notes?
In every marriage, go ahead.
No, you know how sometimes when the husband goes to work every day and the wife's like, thank God he's gone, I can get my housework done, I can do this and that, you know? Well, it's the same thing, but just different intervals.
Not at my house.
It's like 2 weeks,
I'll
and
get
then
to you
you're home
later,
for
Sparky.
2 weeks.
So there's no. I'm learning more about my marriage than.
Okay.
I didn't realize how much you love it.
Oh, well.
She
What
loves it when I
about
come home, no.
what about the life of a comedian? What do you have to say to would-be comedians? Is this?
Are there some in the room?
Yeah. Oh, we have a lot. We have a lot in the audience.
Oh, in the audience.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sit down, man.
Now,
Sit down, Sparky. Yeah.
Sparky, yeah.
Right.
is this a
my dog's
glamorous
name.
life? Is it not a glamorous life?
Well,
What's the toughest part for you?
The toughest part is the logistics of touring, and going from city to city and being on airplanes and in airports and hotels and not being at home. Once I'm on stage, I'm fine, but it's the whole kind of caravan
The
existence.
hotels, the motels, the
What do you
hotels.
Hotels, the
worry-
motels, the women, the circus animals. It's taken valuable inches off my height.
How's Cleveland? Is Cleveland nice?
Babe. Anyway,
What do you worry about?
huh?
What do you worry about?
What do I worry about? Making enough money to pay my wife's credit cards.
Okay, good enough. Do you worry about dress, how you look, carrying all this stuff with you? Do you worry
Well,
about
fortunately-
jokes bombing?
No, I mean, at the risk of being immodest, I've been in it long enough to know that I shouldn't say anything that bombs. No, I don't care. It's the thing about a comedian, we don't carry instruments, we don't have a band, we just have our tongue and our brain and our suitcase, so that part of it isn't hard. It's just going from city to city and trying to make strangers laugh that have been drinking for 4 hours or 5 hours.
How long have you been a comedian?
20 years.
Would you do anything else?
Surgery? No. Interior design? I don't know, so many things.
Do you tell wife jokes?
Actually, I don't, because I would, my wife obviously is beautiful and we get along great, so I don't do like take my wife, please jokes. I say take my wife and I'll kill you. No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't do any wife jokes.
Do you do children jokes?
I have 2 beautiful children and I don't make fun of them either.
My goodness, he is a dream. He really is.
Let's wake up. Oh.
No, no. When we come back, we're going to meet a wife who says she's fed up with her husband because she's tired of being the butt, okay, of his jokes. Stay with us. Back to you. Does Harley come to see you perform? Does she criticize you? Does she remember which jokes work and which ones don't?
Actually, she's my toughest critic. And when I get slack, when I am not being the way she wants me to be on stage, she's the first person to let me know.
So she's
She'll
a
come
coach.
up to me with notes, and I could get a standing ovation, Sally. A standing ovation, okay? Come off stage. Honey, you know the thing about the car? You said it too slow. I said, honey, they're still standing. I'm sorry, so it's like...
But
Are
she
they
then,
standing?
that works as a coach. In other words, you have somebody in your life who can tell you funny, not funny, do it, don't do it.
I'm afraid to admit that she's much more comedically astute than I would ever want to have anyone that close to me be.
Did she get that way being married to you?
No,
or-
before she
I'm
married
not
me,
funny,
she was...
but I have a sense of what is funny somehow.
Right.
I can tell. I know if a comedian's going to really be big, usually, or, I just know what's commercially right. What goes well. I just
She
have a
predicted
sense.
Roseanne Barr being a big star long before anyone
Most
knew who she
people would
was.
not have picked her.
Harley was a big fan of Roseanne in the beginning, and she's been very astute at that. Very good.
I'm a big fan of Roseanne's too, but that's an unusual person to have picked to have made it.
Well, she's funny.
She is. She's very funny. All right, when we come back, we're going to meet a man who says these husbands may be using comedy to hide their true feelings. Don't go away. We've been talking with husbands who by day work as crane operators and construction workers and auto mechanics, and night they dream of becoming professional comedians. Richard Belzer is here and he is giving them some professional advice. Sir, question?
Yes, I do. Richard, in school, were you a class comedian?
Your thing fell
I
down.
lost that. Were you a class comedian in school, or?
What was school like for you?
I was thrown out of every school I ever went to for being too funny. I was thrown out of religious school. God expelled me from religious school. Really? I got thrown out of everywhere.
My dear.
Uncontrollable wit.
Yes.
My question is for the two couples on the end. If your husband's treated you like this prior to marriage, then why did you go through with the marriage if you weren't happy?
She said that her husband turned into this on the wedding day, and the other couple, yeah?
Well, I've always known he was but my life
That's what happens with live television.
Ain't love grand.
By the way, you know that the one thing they found when they did a study of comedians was every single one of them had been the class clown?
That's not true. Steve Allen wasn't the class
He
clown.
was not
He was very shy.
But he's a
But he wasn't a
humorist. I don't
comedian.
think of him as a comedian. He's a humorist.
All right, I stand corrected. I just want to say something, though. You
Yes.
know, making fun of your wife and saying your wife, you know, has a fat ass or whatever, and putting a lampshade on your head and being funny is a lot different than going in front of an audience of strangers who don't know you and making them laugh. So that's just a bit, for my first bit
So
of
you
advice.
can be funny
for
with
these
your
gentlemen.
relatives. And
What?
you can be funny with the relatives and friends. It's a whole
Yeah, or
different
being
thing.
mean-spirited towards your wife is not indicative of
Wait,
being a
I have
stand-up
something
comic.
to say about that. If
Uh-oh,
he has, no, if he has something mean-spirited to say about his wife and it's funny and he can get laughs and make money for it, she's not going to worry.
See? She really is.
There she goes again.
As long as I can pay those credit card
Question.
bills, you're right. She didn't care what I do.
You pay a few of mine? Right.
I just don't
Coming up at Caroline's. We all going to go there? All right. Let's
Yeah.
get. I want to thank all of our guests today. Each of our husbands are going to go home with a copy of Richard Belzer's book, How to Be a Stand-Up Comic. Watch for it, by the way, out in paperback this month, and Dr. Alvin Bareff's book called Men Talk, How Men Really Feel About Women's Sex, Relationships, and Themselves. And special thanks to Caroline Hirsch for giving our lucky dentist, Greg, a shot at fame at the world-famous Caroline's Comedy Club in Manhattan. We're going to be following your career.
Some members of our audience will receive, and a promotional fee has been provided by